Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Mark and Macy show. And we, for a second consecutive week, are on Blab. Hey, Macy, how are you?
Hey, good. How are you?
I'm doing just fine. So we tried the Blab thing last week, and I thought it worked out pretty well. So we give it a shot again this week, and we welcome your questions and your comments as we go along here with the Super Bowl all set up with Carolina taking on Denver. But before we dive into that, Macy, I think it's been kind of a monumental week for Mark and Macy here because just like 3 days ago, we started our YouTube channel and we launched our Twitter page. So follow us there, subscribe, and see what we have to say. And again, jump in here. So we've got all sorts of people with us. So definitely T-Way and Colin's random thoughts. So if you've got random thoughts, Colin, that's what you've got for us. So throw them out there for us. But I think Macy and I can agree on this one thing. So we've had a few disagreements through our 9 weeks, but one thing I think we can agree on is that we're both happy that Peyton Manning's playing in the Super Bowl. Right, Macy?
Absolutely. I am so excited to see Peyton back there. You know, his last appearance in the Super Bowl wasn't quite what everyone was expecting, definitely not what he wanted. So I think this is his chance to kind of prove himself again and say this is the elite quarterback that he is. And I hope he gets that chance.
I have to say, Macy, that the last Super Bowl, Denver was actually a favorite. So they've opened as like a 3.5 point underdog against Carolina, or at least that's where the line stands now, from what I'm understanding. And McDaniel Systems, thanks for joining us. So a 3.5 point underdog is Peyton Manning and the Broncos. Now, 2 years ago against Seattle, they were flipped the script like a 3-point favorite. And I couldn't decide. And I know you know that I love to pick the games and I want to be right. I could not decide until late in the week. And then once I decided on Seattle, like a day or two before, I got this bad feeling, and I was rooting for the Broncos. I had this bad feeling that it was going to be nasty, that Seattle's defense was really tough. It was going to be nasty, and it was nasty. So I'm starting to, as soon as the games were finished, especially since the Panthers did what they did to the Cardinals, Macy, I started thinking, this might be not a good thing for Peyton and the boys.
Yeah, you know, so it's interesting, this matchup. I look at the Panthers as a team that is full of energy and just they're excited to be there. But then I look at the Broncos, who are coming off that have just recently been in a Super Bowl, and this is kind of their chance and their revenge, like for the previous game. But I think the quarterback matchup is the most interesting part, especially, you know, there's always some kind of buzz before, you know, the 2 weeks before the Super Bowl. What can we talk about? So obviously the two big topics I see going into the 2 weeks before the Super Bowl starts is one, Cam Newton, which people are saying they don't like him, or he's not the best, or he's not the quarterback he used to be anymore. Or, I'm sorry, I'm reading the comments over here. Someone's saying Peyton is old and washed up.
Yeah, I thought that would get you.
Yeah, 100%. I don't agree. I do think that Peyton maybe, he's not as quick on his feet as he used to be, but I think he's the better quarterback. He's smarter. He's got the experience. He's got the talent. Cam Newton is great. I can't say that Cam Newton's a bad quarterback. He's got the skill. He's got the talent. But I think that Peyton Manning could outbeat, with his experience, he could beat Cam Newton.
Okay, here's the deal, Macy. When you're a sports fan, there's your heart and there's your head. And you got to figure out how to analyze these things and go into it like that. So I would like nothing more than for Peyton Manning to throw 5 touchdown passes, win the Super Bowl, right off into the sunset with the second Super Bowl championship. And I'm not saying that he's not going to have a decent game and Denver's not going to win, because they've got a formula of letting Peyton throw. Well, he threw it like 35 times against New England and actually against the Steelers as well. But that I think they want to limit his number of dropbacks. They want to establish a running game. They want the defense to do its thing. And win maybe like a 20-17 game would be the script that probably equals a Denver win. But hey, if Peyton throws for 5 TDs and rides off into the sunset, that's what I want to see. But man, based on what I have seen out of Peyton Manning this year, I think I give him a ton of credit, because I think he sees his limitations and he's playing to them, and he's playing somewhat conservatively, and he's not turning over the ball. And that's the first thing I said to, I have a close Broncos fan at work who is a diehard Broncos fan who does not like, I have actually two friends who are Broncos fans, and it's crazy because neither one of them like Peyton Manning. Yes, game management for Peyton, big playability, maybe not so much for him, but for Cam. And these two Broncos fans that are my friends, they both don't like Peyton Manning, but I had to point out to both of them, he didn't turn the ball over the last game. And that's the first tenet for any quarterback. Don't turn the ball over.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the difference between, elite and a good quarterback is not turning that ball over. And especially his brother, Eli. Eli's known for turning that ball over. But, I just look at these quarterbacks, and I think Cam Newton's got more stamina, more power, more, the thrill and the drive and I'm the quarterback here. But Peyton Manning has experience. Peyton Manning knows what it's like to play in a Super Bowl. He's been there. He's done that. He's won a Super Bowl. So sometimes smartness and experience is going to outsmart and outplay the guys who, are kind of all type and talk going into this.
Hey, Macy, I really think that this move to Blab was a good thing, and it might be a good thing for you especially because you're going to have plenty of people to argue with here.
Yes, I'm seeing some Eagles fans jumping in. At Mikey is pink. I am a Giants fan living in the Philadelphia area. So, if you want to jump in this, let's go.
Oh, boy. I'll go get something to drink. Here comes Paul. He's going to duke it out with Macy. Here we go, Paul. I'm letting you in. Beware. She knows her stuff. I'm telling you. Okay, here we go.
Hey, how you doing? I'm a Longhorns fan because I'm right down here in the heart of Texas.
Oh, yeah.
Austin. You know the sign, baby. Hook 'em, baby.
Yeah, okay. Got it. I do college football on my channel, Paul. You got to check me out there, Mark Rogers TV. But
I'll definitely follow you on Twitter right now. By the way, I'm the king of Twitter.
You're the king?
We have met the king of Twitter.
Really? I thought that was LeBron. That was Elvis. That was
I'm the former king of Twitter. I was the original.
Nice.
So I just want to say really quick, back to our Super Bowl conversation, Mikey is pink is jumping in and saying that defense wins championships. And I full-heartedly agree with that. I mean, look at the year when the Giants won the Super Bowl. Yeah, Eli had a couple lucky things here and there, but that defense won that for them both years. And he's saying both Carolina and Denver have insane defense teams, so whoever cracks first loses. I completely agree with that. Luke Kuechly, I think, is an amazing, amazing athlete. And I really think he can take that team and take that defense and control the game, and they could win it for him. But again, defense from Denver is also strong. So not only is it going to be a quarterback matchup, but it is going to be the defensive matchup. And what more could you ask for in a Super Bowl?
I don't see it being even close. Cam Newton, come on, give me a break. That guy's going to dominate that game.
Okay. I thought you were going the other way on that one.
No, Cam Newton, man, he played awesome in that last game. Did you see him leap into the end zone like Superman? Man, he was like flying into the end zone, head over head, flip-flops.
That's impressive, Paul. I don't know if the requirement and expectations of a quarterback is to show off that leaping ability that often. I don't think it's a main tool in the toolbox for most quarterbacks and doesn't need to be. But yeah, it is impressive. Cam Newton's a great quarterback. I heard a discussion today talking about like he's a once in a generation, like he's the first guy that's been able to do this, be this polished of a passer now that he's cleaned that up, but also been an elite athlete at the quarterback position. I don't completely agree. I'd like to see him do it for 2 or 3 years. I think Randall Cunningham did it at a certain time in his career, and Michael Vick. So we have seen freakish athletes at quarterback. Ahmed, I believe he has something to say as well. We'll let you on in.
So I just
he's a freak dog.
We're letting
he's like VY. Remember VY? VY, Vince Young? He was a freakish athlete.
Vince Young could play. Cam Newton's actually combining the freakish athleticism with very efficient passing. Vince Young never got to that point. I don't think Michael Vick ever got to that point as well. Ahmed, how are you?
I'm fine, and you?
I'm doing just fine. This is Macy. I'm Mark. We got.
Hey, give me a high five, Ahmed. Give me a high five.
Hello,
everybody. Give me a high five, Ahmed.
I don't know how we would do that. Okay, got it. You're wrong way.
Give me a high five,
Come on.
Macy. Come on.
I don't know.
Down here.
Hello, Mark.
All right.
Now that we've got the handshake out of the way, Ahmed, do you have some kind of comment for us?
Somewhat?
Do you have something to say?
I'm in.
Like to join in the conversation?
What? Tell me, speak more loud.
Ahmed, I'm sorry, I can't make out what you're saying.
I can't hear what he's saying. Yeah.
I can't make him out either. He's kind of muffled a little bit, you know.
Okay, Paul's taking off on us. We losing control of the. Ahmed, please try back if you think you got your audio fixed. We just can't hear you. I'm sorry. And if you could maybe make your comments or questions on the side, that'd be great. Thanks for joining us.
Okay, thank you.
So Mikey is pink again. You know, he's really smart, this guy, and I totally agree with you, Mikey. He said the difference between Cam and most of other mobile quarterbacks is his size. Vic was fast, but Cam can actually take a hit. And I do agree with that. And I think one thing that Cam Newton has really learned this past year and has used to his advantage is also being able to throw from the pocket. And that made a huge difference for him. But, Mark, this one's for you. Every week I find something to relate to Tim Tebow. Always, right? So
yeah, you do that.
Every week. All right. So here's my way to relate Tim Tebow into this conversation. Cam Newton was actually a backup for Tim Tebow at Florida for 1 year.
I'm well aware of that.
So every year that I can bring, or every week that I can bring him, he is back.
I'm going to challenge that in the future, but yeah, you have been able to do that, and I will. I know that it's going to be difficult for me to keep the great Tim Tebow out of every conversation. Even if we're talking next week just exclusively about the Super Bowl, I'm sure he'll come up and how he could have gone to the Super Bowl the year that they lost to the Patriots by like 5 touchdowns in the playoffs. So
I just had to add that into our discussion because that is always something that is brought up and it works with the conversation.
If you're going to have a trademark, it might as well be squeaky clean Tim Tebow. Why not?
Absolutely.
Oh, and you're killing me on the likes or whatever those things are called. You're just tearing it up.
They're just little hand
You
things.
understand that all she's done in the last 30 seconds is mention the name Tim Tebow. Thank you very much. Somebody's jumping in there.
If you could get dislikes, I'm sure as soon as they bring Tim Tebow up, I would go down.
We have missed all sorts of people jumping in, so certainly we want to acknowledge everybody that's jumped on board. Send us your questions, your comments as we're talking about the Super Bowl, but we will talk about anything in sports or even beyond that. If you have caught, and you need to do so, catch our previous shows, jump on YouTube, look up Mark and Macy. We just started a channel a few days ago. Yes, got my back. I appreciate that, Mikey. That for the past 8 weeks, we've talked about all sorts of things. So we will go in any direction that you would like.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Super Bowl is always fun to talk about. There's going to be a lot. We can still talk about that more next week. Pro Bowl is coming up this weekend. I'm actually more excited about the NHL All-Star break.
Okay, thank you. I thought we were going to talk about the Pro Bowl.
But I will be tuning into the Pro Bowl. I always check that out.
I actually had somebody, this was like an hour and a half ago at work, the Pro Bowl promo came on and somebody said, who's going to watch the Pro Bowl? The Pro Bowl sucks. And somebody turned around and said, if anybody's going to watch the Pro Bowl, it's Mark. And I said, why do I get picked out of this? I said, I have not watched the Pro Bowl in forever. I do not like the Pro Bowl. I think it's gimmicky, especially now that it's not the NFC against the AFC. It's this Jerry Rice team against this Chris Carter team or whoever they have going, Michael Irvin. this year, and let's pick the teams, and it's just ridiculous. Football cannot be played unless there's passion involved and hitting and intensity, and you might as well just play 7-on-7 and let offensive and defensive linemen like have a contest to knock over blocking sleds. That's what you should do right now. So I think
I mean, at this point, as a fan, and I think, I'm someone who watches the Pro Bowl, and there's not very many people left that still do, but make it something that's, like you said, a competition, rather than just maybe a game that is really useless. So maybe make it worth charity, or make some kind of challenge where you're going to support something good, rather than giving these guys one last chance to play in a game where they're not going to necessarily even give their all, because you're not going to risk injury, you're not going to risk everything else. So make it worth something.
You're in Hawaii. Go out to the beach. Make it 7-on-7. Throw the ball around. Let the DBs and the wide receivers have some jump balls on the side there, and let them go at it. And then, like I say, do the competition thing with all the other players. What offensive or defensive lineman wants to play in the Pro Bowl? They can't blitz. They can't do anything. It's just a joke. It's just not good.
I agree. I mean, just look at the NHL All-Star break. Like, look at the cool things that they do there.
I never have, but go ahead.
Even for the NBA, I watched that, the NBA All-Star game, the slam dunk. Who wouldn't want to see Odell Beckham, who everyone raves over, do something amazing and exciting?
Yes.
The NBA All-Star game is a scoring frenzy. Nobody touches you. You've got a clear path to the basket.
Which
that
leaves
is an
the best
amazing
All-Star game
exhibition.
I'm teeing you up, Macy. The best All-Star game is
baseball.
Baseball. Yes.
No, I just enjoy the home run derby.
Oh, really? I'm flip-flop. I did. Oh, you know what was great about the home run derby this year is they sped it up. They put the clock on the players so they couldn't stand and wait. Yep. And that really made it a lot better. The home run derby last year.
Absolutely.
652 to 235. Paul, do you have anything else for us before
the home run derby is amazing. It's kind of like the long drive competition in golf, to see who can, and that is amazing to see the distances they get. They're like out there 400 yards and more in that. I don't know what the home run record is, but that is amazing to see them knock those balls out of the park in baseball. That is a great, and the NBA, that's just pure scoring. Nobody plays defense. Do you think they play defense in the Pro Bowl?
Of course not. And why would I play defense if I'm an outside linebacker and I've got a $20 million contract that's not guaranteed? And so if I get injured, I'm screwed. No. I'm not going to play hard in the Pro Bowl. And I can't. There have been like isolated plays that have been shown that are just complete jokes, and you could tell guys don't want to tackle, and I can't blame them.
Depth is important in the Super Bowl. But, our Spurs down here in San Antonio, their second string, the second five guys are the sixth best team in the NBA. But getting back to the Super Bowl, who do you think has the best depth of the Panthers or the other team?
Who's taking this one on? Depth.
I'll ask Macy. Come on, Macy.
Study the rosters for a week, Paul, and get back to you next weekend. We'll have our.
Can I get a couple minutes for this? I don't know. Honestly, I'm gonna go Denver. I hate to be so I don't want to say fangirl about it, but I'm really, really rooting for Peyton and everything that falls for Peyton. So, I'll go Denver. Mark, if you want to take this one for the rest, go ahead.
Oh, you just nailed that analysis of the rosters. I don't think there's any question that Denver has better depth than Carolina. Sure.
That could play a part. That could offset maybe the Cam Newton factor now. It might be pretty evenly, maybe evenly matched. I may be over emphasizing the abilities of Cam Newton to dominate the game,
Well, that's kind of what we were talking about before. And I think that's where Peyton might have the advantage of, Cam Newton is so hyped and so excited to be here. But at one point, you might crash and burn. And he's been on a pretty high all season long. And every dog has their day. And maybe the Super Bowl, I could be wrong, but that might be his day where sometimes things just don't work out for you.
I think what's going to be really interesting is that the pass rush against the Patriots last week was devastating. The Broncos pass rush was killer from the end, and then they would push the pocket. Brady had nowhere to step into the throw, and he was just getting ambushed. And Carolina's more equipped on the offensive side, on the offensive line, to deal with that. How much more so? I don't know. And they do have 2 Ohio State Buckeyes starting at wide receiver for Carolina. So, as Macy knows, that's a huge plus in this game.
I'm sorry, I was reading. I'm not a very good multitasker, as you guys will learn.
You're reading Michael Bell, Mr. Michael D. Second or something.
Yes. Going to be a huge team effort if Denver is going to get this one, but I feel Peyton has been riding that wave for a while now. So are you saying that Peyton has been riding the wave for championships, Super Bowls, just being a quarterback? Where are you coming out with that, Mr. Michael D. Second?
Yeah, what does he mean? That's not really that clear.
I'm guessing that he means that Denver's a really good team otherwise. They're riding their defense, and the running game's somewhat inconsistent. They can run against certain teams, but do not have a great running game, but that the defense has carried the team to this point. That's what I'm guessing, and Peyton's kind of riding that wave. He's not putting up the 45 points that he was 10 years ago. He's not throwing for 400 yards a game. I said it to somebody today that I find the transition of this Denver team very interesting, that they made a Super Bowl 2 years ago as the most prolific offense in the league. Peyton threw 55 touchdowns, and they had a marginal defense slightly better than average. They've made a complete transition. Now they've got a pretty marginal offense, like a bottom 5 to 10 offense statistically, and they've got a great defense. I don't think there's any question they have the best, certainly Carolina fans would argue, but probably the best defense in the league. They've made a transition without losing their status as a top 5 team, and that's pretty impressive.
So I think another interesting factor that plays into Super Bowl week and the hype and everything else is the NFL announced yesterday that they will be investigating the HGH against Peyton Manning. But that won't be until after the Super Bowl. So that's something that's going to kind of have to sit on him this whole time. And that's something that maybe might get to you. I know that he's already been accused of this, and it wasn't very credible where it came from. And there was some talk about it instantly until Peyton came out and said, this is not going to happen. Like, this hasn't happened. This is made up. This is whatever. So now that it's kind of resurfacing again, I think that's really interesting. And it could maybe play a little bit of a factor into this game because I feel, like I said, there's always some kind of talk. Last year, I think it was right when Deflategate started and about Brady deflating balls and this and that. So there's always something that seems to come up the week before the Super Bowl. And I feel that the HGH is going to be the big talk.
Mikey wants to go all Barry Bonds on Peyton and the Broncos if they win the Super Bowl and say asterisk has to be put in the record book. Obviously, that's not going to happen. But regardless of what's found out about Peyton. So I think Mr. Michael here explained his comment about the Broncos, basically team-oriented backfield defense. Yeah, basically they're not a quarterback-oriented offense. It's run the ball, throw for 200 yards, and let the defense win. Don't make mistakes on offense, which has obviously been completely opposite of how Peyton Manning has operated his entire career. He's been the leader of the team, carried it on his shoulders. And what's interesting is, and unfortunate for him, is when he's at his worst, he's playing with the best defense he's ever played with in his career. He never had defenses like this with the Colts. He had to go out there and score 40 points.
Could y'all pick the player you think is going to surprise everyone and jump out and and really go beyond their capabilities in the Super Bowl?
I think a Denver running back needs to do that. I think the Denver running game as a whole is not going to be one particular back. I think the entire running game needs to overachieve against Carolina's front seven for Denver to have a legitimate chance in this game. I think that's what has to happen for the Broncos to win this game.
Macy, what about you? What do you think? Who's going to surprise everyone? Who's going to jump out and play beyond what they're expected to play?
Well, you know what? I'm going to actually kind of go opposite here. And I think Josh Norman is not going to be the guy he's been all year. He's been that standout, in the backfield. And I think his attitude and his little pep to his step and all the trouble he's caused all year, I think he's going to let the Super Bowl get to his head. And I think that's going to be a huge game changer for the Broncos.
Well, I think you both are wrong, because I think that Fozzie Whitaker on the Panthers is finally going to have a big breakout game, and nobody's ever heard of him. That guy has more heart and muscle than almost anyone.
I know why you're saying Fozzie Whitaker. Fozzie Whitaker went to Texas. Yes.
You get
who Fozzie Whitaker is.
But I still think that, and that's why I base it on his career at Texas. No, he's the most overlooked player on Texas. The guy was just outstanding. I saw him in a practice game. It was like the pre-game before they played the season, and he just had an outstanding game. And you know where he really stood out was the high school football championship of Texas. He totally took that team on his back and just carried that team. He was running like 10 yards every play, 10 yards. So we'll see. And he can do run backs too on kickoff.
Yeah, we'll be looking out for Fozzie Whitaker. I don't know that his credentials in the state championship game are going to hold up against the Denver Broncos, but appreciate that, Paul.
So, Paul, I have to ask, are you a graduate of Texas or just a longtime fan? Where does that all come together for you?
I graduated in physical fitness training from Texas. I took their physical fitness training course, and so I'm a certified fitness instructor at the University of Texas. Currently inactive, though. I'm not teaching any classes right now, but I think next year I'll get back into it. I'm 71 years old.
Hey,
71 is keeping me going,
Hey, Macy, somebody's got a question for you. It's kind of ironic, too.
Do I work for ESPN? No, I do not work for ESPN, but that is a dream of mine. So hopefully you know something that, I don't know yet, and maybe you can predict the future. But yes, hopefully one day I hope to have ESPN next to my name.
Okay.
You know what a good entry into ESPN is? Get a job with the Longhorn Network. It's kind of like a jumping board to ESPN. It's a lot of.
Did Maria Taylor come from the Longhorn Network?
Who?
Maria Taylor.
I don't know, but there's somebody else that did. I can't remember her name right now, but she came from the Longhorn Network. Or anything similar, or the SEC Network. If you could get on there, if you're just one short step away,
I don't know if I could work for the SEC Network. I think our friend Tim Tebow works over there.
Well, yeah, you might lose a little focus there. May not be able to concentrate.
What's your dream entry into there if you had to go to a sports network? What would be your second choice?
Honestly, I would love to work for any network. It's not necessarily the network. It's just my passion that I have for working in sports and getting an opportunity to cover sports and be a part of it. So if anyone gave me an opportunity, I would love it.
Yeah, maybe you could go the Erin Andrews route. How did she break in?
She started in hockey, actually. She was covering Tampa Bay Lightning. So very cool. So this is our new friend, Paul. We're Mark and Macy. We do a show every Thursday at 6:45 here on Blab. So join in. We love getting these questions. We love having friends jump in and meeting new people. We love the questions on the side. Bring it on. We love it. We're talking Super Bowl 50. We're talking some sports. So whatever you guys want to talk about, we'll talk about it.
So for Macy, it's about the Giants. It's about the Mets in particular. For me, I'm long-standing and battle-tested and long-suffering Ohio fan. Browns, Indians, not suffering with the Buckeyes. But there you go. So that's the deal. And don't ask me anything about ESPN. I don't know anything about ESPN. Can't really speak to that subject. So don't ask me those questions. Ask Macy about the questions about ESPN.
For me, it's Packers. It's Green Bay Packers, Minnesota Vikings, Dallas Cowboys. Those are my teams.
Okay, Paul, I'm going to pick on you here. How can you like the Vikings and the Packers at the same time?
Because I came from a town. I didn't, but my father and grandfather lived in a town right on the Minnesota-Wisconsin border called La Crosse, Wisconsin. So they spent half their time in Minnesota and half their time in Wisconsin.
They play twice a year, Paul.
What?
They play twice a year. Who do you root for?
Oh, in that game, I root for the Packers.
Okay. All right.
I give them a slight edge, It's like the Longhorns against Texas A&M or, Houston against San Antonio or something like that. Who do you root for,
So, Paul, let me ask you this. You're in Texas, right?
Roger that.
Okay. So you're in Texas. I personally am a Penn State graduate, and I was there when Bill O'Brien was there. What is the vibe and the conversation about Bill O'Brien?
I draw a blank. I'm totally drawing a blank. Tell me more. Tell me more about it, the background. Give me more detail.
So Bill O'Brien came from the Patriots, left the Patriots to take the head coaching job at Penn State, stayed at Penn State, took that and took the Texans head coaching career. And, at first he didn't seem to fit there. There seemed to be some negative talk just from what I see here in Pennsylvania and being someone that had lost their head coach to the NFL team. And then he was on Hard Knocks, which people kind of grew some appreciation for him and learned a little bit more about him, which as a student at Penn State, we saw that side of him. And, a rough start to this season, but they finished out okay. So I'm just wondering what that vibe is kind of there. There were some rumors that he was interviewing for some other coaching jobs back in college. He was looking at, or Maryland was looking at him. So I'm just wondering what the buzz is there.
Well, I'm kind of looking at blinders, at the Longhorns, and I see a little bit of the Spurs coach. And when it gets to Houston, that's kind of close. It's only a couple hundred miles away, but I'm so laser beam focused on the Longhorns. I'm seeing Matt Brown and Charlie Strong, and anybody outside of that world is kind of like they're not in my wheelhouse that much. I hate to let you down. I haven't followed it that much. JJ,
Paul is the king of Twitter, though. He's the king of Twitter, and he loves the Texas Longhorns. So, Paul, thanks so much for joining us. We're going to let Preston jump on here.
Hey, thanks for letting me in. Good luck to y'all. Macy, I hope to see you on the Longhorn Network and then ESPN and then Dancing with the Stars after that, okay?
Yes, thank you.
All
if
right,
you have any questions, let me know.
All right.
Thanks, Paul. Hey, Preston, we'll get to you next here. What you got for us? Preston Bailey.
How's it going?
We're here every Thursday night, Mark and Macy, just about 6:45. Hey, Preston.
What's going on? Can you guys hear me?
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
You're loud and clear.
Excellent. No, I thought Macy, for some reason, I thought she looked familiar. I thought she worked at ESPN or something. I just saw like broadcaster. I could definitely see on ESPN or NFL Network or any of the big networks. So, but no, I was going to say I'm a big sports fan. I'm actually in Tampa. That's a Bucks hat. So I just came in the middle of Paul. I didn't know what he was saying. I didn't know if he said he was a coach for Texas. I missed that part. I didn't know exactly what he was saying. All I heard was like Packers and Vikings and all that stuff. So, Mark, where are you guys from exactly?
I'll let Macy go first. Go to it, Macy.
What a gentleman.
The bio.
So I am a Philadelphia girl. I live in Philadelphia.
Oh, man.
But
I was such a big fan of yours till you said that. Oh, my God.
I'm not a Philadelphia fan, though. I'm not. I really have a New York heart, so I don't know if that makes it better or worse. But
New York is definitely better than Philly. Philly, they'll kill you, and they'll beat up Santa Claus, and they'll just throw batteries at you. It's crazy there.
Yeah, no, it's a little rough there. I can't lie. But I do go to a lot of Philadelphia sporting events just because I'm such a sports person and it's local. Sure. So why not? I go to just as many in New York, but when there's the opportunity right here in your own backyard, absolutely. And real quick, Mikey is pink. I am also from Bucks County, so looks like we're neighbors meeting on Blab. And I'm not a trader. My whole family is from New York. They grew up New York sports fans. If I wanted dinner, I would be a New York sports fan too. If not, I would be, I don't know, I guess out in the street up for adoption.
So do you have an NFL team? I was.
Yeah, so I'm a Giants fan.
Giants. Nice.
Yes. All right, Mark, your turn.
Okay. And Macy also does work for the Giant Insider, right? And has worked for Rutgers Vision.
Yes.
Well, so for me, let's see. I'm an Ohio guy. I went to Kent State University, but I was an Ohio State fan. I am an Ohio State fan. I got out of college. I majored in broadcast journalism. I had 2 sports casting jobs in Ohio and in Mississippi at a CBS station down there. And now I work at the network that everybody else seems to be talking about, except for me here. I've worked there for 14 years, but there you go.
What network is that? Fox Sports?
That would be ESPN.
Oh, you do work for ESPN?
Yes, I do.
I have never seen you. You look familiar, but are you on camera or?
I did some work for a couple of years on ESPN.com.
Okay.
Work and some things there, but no, not for a few years.
Okay, because
this is our little deal to get on camera. This is what we do. Yeah. We could. Yeah, it's pretty obvious. We didn't have to see it. It's obvious. Don't put down Macy like that. He's right there. Yep. Okay, we have a common friend who we both know from both kind of work and from social media. And I was looking for a co-host for a show. And this person suggested Macy. And so we've been doing this like 9 weeks. And this is only our second week on Blab. We were doing the Google Hangouts thing. And we just launched the YouTube channel 3 days ago and just launched Twitter 3 days ago. Yeah,
so we're in the total launching stages. And we're always looking to, put our show out there and to work with other people. So Preston, if you want to have us on your podcast or one of us on your podcast, we would love to do that. We love to have you here. So anytime you want to join us, 6:30 on Thursday.
If you can only have one of us, I know it's a tough choice.
Yeah,
thanks for jumping on here.
I'm weirdly obsessed with it. I mean, it's been like 2 weeks, not even. And I jump on like at work. I jump on all the time just to chat with people and just to see what people are talking about because I think it's so interesting. And being able to just, like instantly, I don't want to say make friends, but you can make friends and make connections right here with people who have the same interests as you or even people that don't have the same interests as you. And when you don't have the same views, that's how you learn. And I think, I don't want everyone to sit here and to agree with me because that's not fun, No, because it's a good feeling when people agree with you and you want to agree with people. But when, I'm for one side and you're for another, you're just going to learn about my side and I'm going to learn about yours. And what was really cool for me and how I learned that growing up, being a New York sports fan in the Philadelphia market. And if I wanted to talk about these Philadelphia teams, I had to know them in and out. And I saw the Eagles' point of view, the Eagles' point of view, and they had to see mine. So it was really interesting because you got that chance to learn about, just more than just your team. So, Chip Kelly, I think the fact that they made the jump and let him go so quickly was really interesting because if Doug Peterson was the guy they were really going after, and you knew he couldn't get signed by anyone else because, they were still playing and all this. Why get rid of Chip so quickly? I don't think it would have made a difference. Mark and I have talked about Chip Kelly plenty of times. I think Chip Kelly is definitely a West Coast guy. Is he fit for the NFL? I don't know. We will really see now when he goes back out to the West Coast and see how he performs, because I feel that's just where he belongs and that's just his nature. But I think he's a very smart guy, and obviously he's very successful in college football. So it will be interesting. I kind of felt bad for him when they released him. Eagles fans are tough. They are tough. And yeah, I don't think Doug Peterson is going to be the right fit. We'll see. I don't know how far he's going to go with them, but I think it's what the fans wanted. I think Chip wanted out, and the Eagles organization had to listen to the fans, because really right now, if you look at the Eagles organization, you look at the coaching staff, there's a lack of it. And that was even before they had a head coach. You look at their football team, they're questioning if their quarterback is even franchise worthy, if there's going to be a running game, if there's defense. You don't know. The only thing the Eagles really had left were the fans. And without the fans, you don't have merchandise. You don't have people in those seats. You don't have anything. So I think that was their way to say, hey, okay, we are listening to you. We'll get rid of Chip.
Well, I think that Macy a few weeks ago said something similar to what you said, that Chip Kelly's a West Coast guy, and going back to San Francisco and going that direction might be a good fit for him rather than the East Coast mentality, which didn't really work out. Although I'm going to defend and go devil's advocate to a certain extent here. 10-6. So after, I believe, 4-12 prior to Chip Kelly, 10-6 with not the best quarterback play. So he's trying to run an offense that is steeped on the quarterback getting the ball out of his hand quickly and spreading the field and making the right decision quickly. And he's got two marginal quarterbacks, although Nick Foles had the one big season. And he went 20-12 over 2 years before it kind of fell apart on him this year, because the DeMarco Murray, obviously, that was never a good fit for this offense. It was almost like they were stealing the Cowboys' best player, or one of their best players, to try to spite them and just take him away rather than utilizing him properly. So that just didn't work out that way. I'm not a big Chip Kelly fan. I'm just saying that I'll take the other side of the fence.
Yeah, I mean, look at that talent that's still in the NFL, and they're still excelling and, making a name for themselves. Chip Kelly, definitely, like you said, I totally agree 110%. He just took a team and just chopped it. And if you had this plan, okay, great, but he had nothing to show for that. The only credit, again, Mark, you're going to hate me for this one, but he Tebow.
I already do, so go ahead. Hey, Preston, I'm all about the truth, okay? And Casey and I have had a couple conversations about Tim Tebow, and 99% of the things I've said about Tim Tebow, positive. As a role model, I have nothing but positive things to say about him, and I think it's incredible that nobody can find any dirt on this guy, because I'm sure zillions of people have tried. So that aside, upstanding guy. Okay. In terms of a football player, I think that the scouting reports were fairly accurate on him trying to make a transition from college to the NFL. That said, results are what count, right? And the thing I'll say about Tim Tebow, and I said this to Macy a few weeks ago, is that what quarterback who went 8-4 as a starting quarterback and took his team to a playoff win never got a chance to start another game for another team in the NFL. So I'm defending Tim Tebow on his record that it wasn't pretty. He had a really good defense in Denver, much like Peyton Manning does right now. He won a lot of 13-10 games, but he played really well in the last 2 minutes of those games to pull out wins. And his starting record was 8-4. I would love for somebody to find us a starting quarterback in the history of the NFL who has an 8-4 record, who was never given another chance to start a game. Oh, Romo's good. Let's not get started on Tony Romo. Carried that team forever.
I am not a Tony Romo fan.
Okay. Tebow, Romo. I don't know. Both good-looking guys. I don't know what.
It's not all about the looks, Mark.
Oh.
This show is not about the looks, okay? So I think.
I hope not. I've thrown that out there.
Guess what? I don't like Tom Brady. I like Tom Brady. I'm a Giants fan. I do not like Tom Brady.
Have you ever had somebody that you didn't like, either one of you, I'll throw this out for either one of you, who was like a arch nemesis of your team, but then he got traded and suddenly he's on your team, a la Urban Meyer for me, and then suddenly, boom, he's your guy. Does that happen?
Okay, so let me ask you this, since you're a Tampa fan, what do you think about Jameis Winston? And now let me ask you this. Would you compare him to a quarterback like Cam Newton?
Even after like 13 years of taking a beating in the NFL, Big Ben could probably outrun Jameis Winston in a 40-yard dash. I should really stop the proceedings here, Preston, real quick, because we have like a pressing issue. I think Macy really needs to address a question here.
I have been offered tickets to bowl games. I have crazier things have happened, but I've never asked someone to marry me live on a show. So, Floyd for Mel, thank you for the, I don't even know what to call it. I guess for
that's at the time Macy can do her own solo show. I will stay clear of that.
That's, I'm here to talk sports. I'm here. Yeah. I appreciate the kindness. It's really nice, but probably you wouldn't want to listen to me all the time.
Yeah, about a half hour is all I can take. So
yeah, trust me. Mark hits his like half hour time. He's like, "Hey, I gotta go. I got something else to do." So a couple people on the side here have talked about some hockey comments, some basketball. We usually talk mostly football, I would say. I usually am the one who plays the wild card with the hockey or basketball. So to say this again, I am excited for the NHL All-Star Weekend. I know a couple people have been talking about that over there. Someone mentioned people still want to listen to me. I don't get it. People have mentioned Sidney Crosby, coming over and playing for your team. If Sidney Crosby came to the Rangers, I still can't be a fan of him. I'm sorry, no matter how well he does for the team. Mark, I know you don't really follow hockey, but I don't know if you have anyone, if you could be a Sidney Crosby fan, if he came over to your favorite hockey team.
Are we talking about Bill Cosby now? We usually go for a half hour, Preston, but now that we're on Blab, this may go all night. Well, that's the thing. It has nothing to do with me. Usually if I come on here by myself, it's like, it's 28 minutes. I don't think I can stretch it. So I do have.
I tune in just to listen to Mark. So
what was that?
I tune in just to listen to you.
Oh, I'm sure you do.
Rick Henry.
This proves he's not.
Funny story. You're not the first person to say that. A lot of people actually get me confused with her. Yeah, and I actually got the chance to sit and talk with her at a Rangers game once, and we took a picture. And it's funny, once you actually put us next to each other, we look nothing alike. Yeah, no, you're not the first, no, I'm sure not the last. Jameis. I think Jameis and his whole story is very interesting. Going back to the covered up rape that kind of was brought into it, the whole crab leg situation, and everything else that kind of falls behind Jameis Winston that people kind of push to the side. So, he's talented. I cannot take that away from him. Yeah, and, I can't sit here and accuse him of anything either. But you just look at what people have challenged these athletes with, because that's what people like to do. They like to challenge them with something, especially someone who's good. And when you get challenged, that means you're good, and someone's just trying to bring you down. So Jameis is definitely a good quarterback. Franchise, I'm not 110% sure, but I think he'll have a very successful career. Yeah, I mean, you look at him compared to someone like Johnny Manziel. And, they both faced their troubles in college and their this and that, but Johnny can't seem to get it under control. And I agree with you that Jameis has matured and is not playing those games anymore, because if you want to be successful, you want to stay in this league, you want to do all that, you've got to keep a clean record. You've got to, and if you want to be a role model, that's a big, parents are not going to let their kids support a guy that's not a role model. You're not going to want to buy his jersey. You're not going to want to be a.
Johnny's taking the picture half the time, though. He's the idiot who takes the picture himself and shows it. And then he's going to get away with something when he puts on Instagram, Ohio, like to say, I was in Ohio last weekend. Right. Yeah. Not the brightest guy.
Yeah, it's amazing how he still gets this opportunity and has, had a quote unquote career in the NFL, because there are some guys that don't. I know our friend Paul mentioned Colt McCoy earlier. Colt McCoy was a great quarterback. And
the thing I'm going to say about Jameis Winston is that through all his stupid antics in college, when it came time to play, and I thought he did some extremely stupid things, acted like a child, acted like a knucklehead. But when there was 2 minutes left in the game and he had to drive the team down the field, when he had to hear nothing but criticism that was well-deserved during the week, man, he pulled through in the clutch. And like you said, Preston, now that he's an NFL quarterback, we have heard nothing this season. I think he's got the size, the arm strength, and the intelligence to be a very good quarterback in the NFL. Well, I think when your biggest asset is your athleticism, it's like a fastball pitcher who's not able to adjust to becoming more of a pitcher when they lose their fastball. Somebody who's, relying on the athleticism more than anything, that's what's going to lead them. And so Cam Newton showed us this year, though, that he was able to adjust and become a more polished passer, and he's makes much better decisions. He's not playing with the best wide receiver tandem in the NFL.
So I do predictions. I'm just really bad at predictions. I mean, let's definitely do scores next week. I think not that it's late.
Yeah.
But, let's touch base with that next week. Maybe the spread will change, or who knows.
4-point spread last I saw.
Yep, I think last I saw was 3.5, so we're in the same boat there. Let's do a prediction next week.
Sure, and we don't have to give score. I'm just thinking of the two. I know a lot of people are rooting for Peyton Manning. I like Peyton Manning too, but I just think Carolina, Cam Newton looks phenomenal. The running game's phenomenal. Their defense is unbelievable, getting turnovers. I know Denver's got a great defense, but there's a big difference between a healthy Carolina team that's a power running team versus a banged-up New England team.
All right, good stuff, Preston.
That's what we spoke about earlier. You're right on. It's pretty much everything we said in a.
There we go. This is why me and Macy, I feel a connection. I'm feeling the love here.
Yeah, that's awesome. So again, we're both available for your show, meaning Macy's available for your show. Anytime you'd like to, work it out. Yeah,
I'll hit her up on Twitter or whatever else. Follow me on the blab or whatever. The millions and millions of fans.
Where can we find you?
I just followed you back.
Well, my Twitter handle is the same, at Smash TV Radio. Just follow me on Twitter, and I'll shoot you guys a DM or whatever. But, I mean, I'm always on all the time. I probably will do a sports blab later on tonight, probably around like 8:30 or so. So I don't know how long you guys are going to go. But
there you see me. There you see Macy. And we also have our own Twitter, Mark and Macy. No, I'm not getting used to. Yeah,
so I'll follow you, both you guys, on Twitter as well.
Cool. Good stuff. Thank you.
So, we have one of our guests commenting on the side a couple of times. He's brought up soccer. I can't say I watch too much soccer.
Nobody cares about soccer. No, I'm only kidding.
I'm right there with you, Preston. I will do a good 10-minute shtick on why soccer's worthless.
I used to work with a guy that was obsessed with soccer. He grew up with soccer. He watched it at his desk, at his little cube, and I'm just like, all this for a 1-0 game. And it's like, you know,
here's my
it's not interesting to me.
Here's my imitation of watching a soccer game on TV. And then it's like, yeah, that's pretty much what you see. You see like 8 guys out there running in one direction, then the ball gets kicked, and then they run.
Yeah.
So I can say this about soccer. I grew up playing soccer my whole life. So I always had a thing for the World Cup and the women's team, and Mia Hamm was my idol, of course. So I guess I can say I'm a soccer fan in that point. Recently, yes, that's true. There are no commercials like American football. I can agree with you there. Recently, I have been to a couple New York Red Bull games, which are pretty exciting, believe it or not. And also NYCFC. I got to see Pirlo, who joined from Italy. And best soccer player I've ever seen. Everything I thought I knew about soccer and everything I thought I've ever seen, or every tight touch of that ball or perfect pass I've ever seen, he blew it all away. So that was pretty cool to actually see him play in his first game for NYCFC. So that's pretty much all I have to say about soccer.
The thing I don't like about soccer is I don't like all the flopping. I got into an argument once with some guys on soccer. The soccer guys are great athletes, don't get me wrong, but they're like 5'7", 140 pounds. Like, I would love to see, like, Calvin Johnson and, you know, just Gerald McCoy and the Dominican Sue, these huge guys that are 320 pounds that are freakish just as fast as these guys. I mean, they'd kill them. Like,
so what I think is interesting now that you're comparing football players to soccer players and all that is Ocho Cinco, since he left the NFL, kind of took over soccer. And I know he guest played with a couple different teams, and he's unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, he's a great athlete for sure. Like, I look at it like, I think like guys like receivers, like a Terrell Owens type, not necessarily T.O. specifically, but a guy like Terrell Owens or Calvin Johnson, th'ese big 6'3", 6'4", 230-pound guys. I'm not saying they beat one of these top soccer teams, but I'll tell you what, I could find a guy that would just say, go out there and just beat them up. And just, you know, physically it'd be hard for these little guys to move the big guys around. There's just not a lot of big guys in soccer.
Yeah, I just think it's interesting, like you said, because these guys are really great athletes. So I would like to see some more NFL guys maybe try out the game of soccer. It might be a totally different game, and it might actually be a little more fun.
Maybe you want Calvin to retire and go play soccer.
I'm just saying, I do hate soccer, but I could not discount the athleticism. These guys are tremendous athletes. They're in great condition. I just think it's boring to watch on television.
Right. Bruce Jenner was a great athlete too.
Honestly, it's much more fun in person. Like, I didn't really want to go to those games, and then once I did, and I became like totally obsessed. So, you know, the Philadelphia Union, they played the Dupe song, which the Flyers ended up taking from them because every time they scored. You guys know that song, like whatever it is. It's like this whole thing. I don't even know, but it became such a big thing for the fans, and the fans thrived off of it. Like, they loved it, that the Flyers actually made it their goal song. So Dupe kind of became a thing in Philly because of the Union. And most people in Philly, if you said, quick, name the soccer team in Philly, they wouldn't even know.
Right.
So there is a little bit of an impact that the U.S. is making with soccer, but it still has a long time to grow. And I'm reading some of these comments here on the side that the NFL players don't have the stamina. I totally agree. The football players would get gassed. Soccer players, you know, Blue Streaks guys said incredible endurance.
Sure. What I would say to that is, yes, some guys like your left tackle, your big guys, yes, your 330 pounders, obviously, but the guys that I would take to kill the soccer guys would be the guys like Calvin Johnson that are 230 pounds. He can run all day. These guys can run all day, and they're strong. So whereas a lot of soccer guys are small and diminutive guys. So I still could say that you could take some 6'3", 6'4", some bigger guys, 220, 230, 240, that could run over these guys.
We don't know if they have the stamina because they go in 4 and 5 second spurts and then they get to rest. I'm not saying that they don't. I just don't know if they do.
Yeah, we don't know, but I'm saying I would say more than likely a lot of these guys, like receivers specifically, are just some of the best athletes on the planet, any sport.
All right, kids.
Is that it?
I think that's about it.
All right. Well, I'm starting another blab, Macy, if you want to come over in about 3 minutes. I don't know if you're up for it, not up for it, whatever you want to do. It's fine with me. If you're tired, if you got to go smoke a pipe and get a robe or do whatever you got to do, that's fine too. Whatever works for you.
No, I can join for a few minutes.
Sure.
All right.
Yeah,
thanks again, guys. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for jumping on
Thank
here.
you.
So, hey, this is Mark and Macy. We come your way every Thursday night. We try to get this thing underway by about 6:45, and we had a really good time tonight. So in total, we had 115 people jump on board at some point. So again, join Macy on Twitter. You see my Twitter handle as well. We've got a YouTube channel. Just look up Mark and Macy. Hopefully you'll be able to find it. As we get more views, it'll make its way up the first page. And also a Twitter, Mark and Macy Show. Good stuff.
Yeah,
Macy.
absolutely. It's been a lot of fun, and I love this interaction of having random people jump in. I think it makes just, the conversation just grow, and I think it's a lot of fun. So if we can put our, thoughts into it and they want to put theirs, it's only going to be for the best.
Yeah. So everybody, thank you so much for jumping on board. We had a good time.
And join us next Thursday. Even tweet us, throughout the week. If there's things that come up and you want to talk about, say, hey, we definitely want to talk about that next Thursday. Let us know. We'll talk about it.
That's right. See you next week.
See ya.